What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. And Eric, if you only watched the first like 21 minutes of the Bills Patriots game, this would be a film probably with a lot of bad.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, lucky for Bills fans, unlucky for the Patriots and their fans, you got to play the whole game. And the Bills spotted the Pats 21 points. They came back and won 35-31 in a game that really kind of turned on its head coming out of halftime. And we're very excited to be in the film room today, as we always are, but really kind of highlighting a couple of pieces on the defensive side, a lot on the offensive side in terms of what kind of turned things around and got the
Right.
Bills into that spot to really snatch victory from the jaws of defeat against the Pats. But before we dive into all of that, as we do, how you doing? How you feeling? How's it going?
Like you said, that first half, it was rough. And
Yeah.
honestly, the first thing that came to mind after watching that first half, right at halftime, like, man, I'm already regretting I have to do film room and
Yeah.
turf the tape this week. That literally is the first thing that comes to my mind, what different topics we have to cover, how bad they were in the run game in the first half, how the offense just couldn't get in rhythm, but much like several of the games this year, the adjustments by the coaching staff on both sides of the ball really were their calling card and were the difference makers, from halftime on. And some of those adjustments did start to take place in that second quarter. But again, the Bills drove down there towards the end of the first half, got that touchdown, but then they allowed the Patriots to drive back down to steal 3 points before half. But
Mm.
it really was a game of, tale of two halves, first of all, and the coaching adjustments made the difference as they have most of this year. But it was nice to also see guys like Trey White, Matt Milano
Mm.
really stand out in this game in a multitude of ways to contribute in high leverage situations and at times where they needed these plays to be made. And it was cool to see those veterans make those plays for the Bills on defense, especially. And, the Bills treated Drake Maye like an MVP candidate. They
Mm.
threw the kitchen sink. They unloaded their clip on defense as far as coverages and what they showed pre to post snap and changing that picture. They did a great job. And on offense, Josh, surprisingly, we'll get into the details of it. We're going to show you a lot of that film too. He showed composure in a game where they were down that much, Anthony. It
Mm.
could have been very easy for Josh to flip on hero ball and go do whatever it took to win the game. But he was very composed. He was efficient, and he did a great job of letting the game come to him, letting the offense do its job for him,
Mm.
and getting the ball into the playmaker's hands, whether that's handing it to Cook or underneath throws, those quick throws underneath, doing whatever it took to extend drives and to get points on the board.
Yeah, that's such a big takeaway. And obviously we're going to get into the details here for a lot of, what worked and how it worked and all that. But from a high level perspective, that approach offensively, I was just really happy to see, you're down and granted too, I know what it kind of felt like when they were down 21-0. But if you're looking at it logistically, like if you take a step back, there was a ton of football left. Like, so you
Yeah.
could make the case, be like, listen, everything's gone sideways a little bit right now. Let's take a breath. We're okay. It didn't really feel that way or look that way initially, but there was a lot of football left. I was, but I'm sure like so many of us, everybody was ready to throw their remote through the TV. But Allen, Brady really just staying the course. Like, nope, we're going to keep
Yep.
running the
Stuck to the
ball.
game plan. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to keep running the ball. We're going to stay in the personnel groupings we like, the formations that we like. We'll take what they give us. Getting down with this offense or this version of the Bills offense that isn't built to be like 4 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. Like, this is an offense that's very much like 9 to 12 plays, 5 to
Right.
6 minutes a clock. Like, keep at it, grind them into dust. That's not an offense that's really built to like come back and take over a game when you're down early. But they didn't panic. Allen said it before in several kind of, whether it's press conferences or like the clips that the Bills show, like the locker room stuff. Like,
Right.
they don't ride that wave. They've just been kind of staying even. And that's such a huge piece for as much as, what they did different defensively, what they did offensively, and what the Pats didn't do and all of that. I think kind of lost in all that is what you said in this point there of the Bills just stayed true to themselves offensively. They didn't panic. They kept after it. And before you knew it, paired with what the defense was doing, it just the momentum swung completely in their favor. But yeah, they didn't panic. They didn't start chucking it around. They didn't say, screw it, chuck out at the game plan. We got to do something else completely. They stayed after it and it worked.
And honestly, it was that discipline by Josh, especially. It was that discipline that was really the superpower of his, right? It wasn't the big arm. It wasn't just him scrambling around, putting that cape on and doing
Yeah,
whatever.
it wasn't Buccaneers stuff where it was like, oh, he's
Right.
doing all these crazy things.
Yeah. And someone, Scott, actually on X said probably the most effective way to maximize the cape and putting that cape on and becoming Superman is to force the defense to respect your willingness to be Clark Kent. I was like,
damn, that's a bar and a half.
that's a bar and a half, right?
That's
exactly,
a bar.
Man. Yeah, I was like, wow, that is a great point. I wanted to bring that up because I thought that discipline, that composure was really what guided this offense back on track and into the end zone and 5 straight drives. Like that was incredible what they did. Of course, all 3 phases deserve their own film rooms. The offense, of course, the defense in those high leverage moments, making plays, which McDermott always talks about. Hey, we have to keep working on stopping the run. And I don't think it's ever going to be corrected, especially this year. But in those high leverage moments, he's right. They do make those stops. They do create those turnovers. They do get those tackle for losses when they need it. And they did against the Patriots. And then real quick, the special teams game.
Man.
The punting of getting the ball inside the 20-yard line and or keeping it away from Marcus Jones altogether is one thing. But Ray Davis, again, did it again where he jump starts a lot of these drives for the offense. And that is something that the offense has needed for a better part of the year.
Yeah, I thought it was really important. I think it was it was definitely one. Well, he had multiple, but definitely the one when they go down 21-0. And he has that return that sets him up in great field position. And it doesn't seem like a lot at the time, but that's such a positive way to start the drive. Like you have such great field position and you're down. And it's like, it makes everything seem a little less insurmountable, less like you're digging yourself out. There's a big difference starting a drive at the 50 or in opponent territory versus starting from your own 25 or your own 30 and being up against it. And it's so funny too, because Ray Davis isn't slow, but like watching him run, like you just feel like, oh man, like he's like, if he's like chugging, he's moving so much, but like he's not going like everywhere. It's like, is he going to be able to churn out yards? And he just does. His vision's been good. The blocking was really good.
Really good. Creative returns drawn up too.
Yes, you've said it before when you talk about when you said it before when we talk about the special teams tape, and I was right there in line with you this week. Like I found myself watching special teams tape, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm watching special
like
teams
100% more special teams tape. I only time I can recall watching special teams tape was when we were doing the Jay Feely episode. When they brought him on holding the kicks and extra points and field goals. That was probably the only time I actually zoned in on some of the special team stuff. But now every week, whether it's kick coverage or kick returns, the special teams staff has done a great job of being creative, thinking outside of the box. It's not just your normal, wedge return right, return left. They are legitimately setting up run plays and making it look like a trap run. And that's why I think running backs are, benefiting from these rule changes because they know the timing and the rhythm and the cadence to hitting when a block is about to hit and timing that perfectly. And Ray Davis, if you guys haven't watched some of the returns, go to the Cover One X timeline. I put up like a bunch of his big returns on there, and he just has such a knack for hitting that crease as those kick out blocks happen. And then you're seeing him get north and south, and he doesn't lose speed. And of course, he's kind of a thicker back, so he can break arm tackles that, wide receivers are trying to throw at him or lighter linebackers are trying to, tackle him with. He does a great job of timing it and rhythm, getting in the rhythm on those kick returns for the Bills.
Yeah, absolutely. The vision, the rhythm, the timing, guys sustaining their blocks, holding their blocks. And you hit a point that's one of my favorite parts of it. Yeah, they're running like gap scheme, like return stuff. Like they're pulling guys, they're down blocking, guys are like looping around, and you're seeing what they're doing with Alec Anderson. It's finally, I had hope for some of the rule change stuff last year, but this year it's been cool to see special teams matter again. And it's having somewhat of like a large scale impact on games with, shortening the fields. We're seeing
Yes.
differences in total yardage, but we're seeing differences in play calling and timing and momentum swings and rhythm and
When you get those
kind of,
big returns, and right, like that helps the offense. That's less
yep,
plays that the offense has to put together to get into the end zone or to get points altogether.
yep. And especially for an offense like the Bills that isn't, the Air Coryell or like an offense that Al Davis wants where they're chucking it down the
Yeah,
field. Like,
explosive
yeah,
down the field. Yeah,
they're starting already around the 40 and all they need is 60 yards and they can run the ball the way that they do. You give them like 2 or 3 runs and all of a sudden they're at the opponent's 40 or the opponent's 35 and it starts and just puts them in. It just adds so much. And especially from a mental standpoint, which I know we don't talk about that a ton on the show, but if you're going against the Bills, Josh Allen, this
right.
offense, James Cook, and then imagine you're the defense. Like you see that return and they're already starting at like the 40, the 45. It's just another like another little thing as you
Yeah,
take the field. Like, and especially as things start to churn and move like they did in this game, it all adds up, it all stacks. And in this game, the Bills needed all of those things to stack and add and compound
100%.
positively for themselves. Because again, they spotted the past 21 points, dug themselves a bit of a hole. But Eric, we start kind of with the offensive side with how they started to turn things around, move things around. And I know you got a really nice quote pulled up here from the old Twitter to kind of set us off here.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of those episodes that we're going to kind of nerd out a little bit. We're going to talk some ball, and I hope that you guys can, pick a few things from this episode to take on when you're going to watch the games on Sunday. And so there was a tweet by Pace and Space on X the other day, Pace and Space 2 on December 11th, and it really just tied in perfectly to what I wanted to do with this episode from the Patriots game. And so here's a quote. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the important part that really is the lead and setup for this episode is the first few sentences. So the best offenses in football are built around a base play. We'll talk about some of those base plays. The base play is supported through constraint plays. That's going to be the buzzword of the night. All right. Constraint plays that protect the base play. This is nothing revolutionary. While sequencing constraint plays around a base play is effective and sound, it does not provide the coach with the ability to navigate the best play call within the variability that occurs within a game. And so constraint plays, Anthony, for weeks, we've talked about the tendencies the Bills have, whether it's early down runs, first down runs, whether it's, hey, they're under center. What do you think's going to happen? Run or pass? Yeah. Different tendencies have been built up this entire season, right, Anthony? Yeah. And it's something we've talked about week in and week out, how Joe Brady has to kind of offer or introduce constraints, these counters, these plays that look like a base play, these plays that look like mesh, but it's actually something else. We're going to talk about some of those constraint plays, plays that look like duo, present like duo, but are actually something else. And so the Bills have run these base concepts, these base plays, as the quote says, these base plays throughout the entire year. And a lot of times to the point of exhaustion. And they've been very successful in a lot of these base concepts. But there are times in high leverage situations where the defense adjusts. So we're going to show you and break down some plays from the offense against the Patriots that are constraint plays, that are plays that are put in to be counters or different presentations of X play, and how the Bills built those layers onto it, and how the last few weeks Joe Brady has started to introduce some of these, and we're seeing some of the fruit of that labor and waiting as long as they could going into December and obviously into the playoffs, and how that could pay off going forward.
Yeah, this one was another breadcrumb or like move in the direction of like the week 5 or 6 conversation where it was like, well, maybe they're just doing all this on purpose to keep all this stuff like in the holster and waiting to unload it. And that's gaining more traction every week. There's just been these little breadcrumbs. And this Pats game is such a perfect, game to talk about it with. Obviously, it's kind of why we're talking about in this episode with, just how they're starting to run more play action that looks like their core run concepts. They're starting to run some passes that present like their core pass concepts, but it's different. And it's gotten to the point, and obviously we've talked about on this show, like you've got just casual fans who all of a sudden know what double China is and know what mesh is and all these things because the Bills have run it so much, and teams know that. And so now the book is out on this offense, but when you start to introduce these constraint plays and these variables and these off-speed pitches, Now all of a sudden you make a defense go like, oh, is the book out? Do we have to add more chapters? Have we read it right? And all you need, like we said it all the time, part of like our frustrations earlier, like they don't need all these wholesale changes. It's just tweaks. Push a couple different buttons, pull a couple different levers. He's been doing that. And all you need to do is create that little bit of doubt
Have
to
a click of
open
doubt.
things.
Yes.
To open things up. And when you pair that with how well they execute with their core stuff already, that's really exciting. They didn't need all these wholesale changes down the stretch. Just a couple little tweaks here and there, and we're starting to see that and the building on top of it. It's been really good.
Right. And this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with the run game. We're going to start with some presentational constraints. Again, there are different buckets of constraints, right? And so let's talk about shotgun versus under center. Bills love to run duo, but primarily this year they've run in this game. They actually ran 2 or 3 different variations. And when I say variations, it's the formational presentation of it. So these are more presentational constraints. All right. Shotgun versus under center. So here you're going to see in the second quarter, 5:06 mark, you're going to see the Bills run duo, but they're running it from shotgun. And this is obviously, it's different when you run versus under center versus shotgun because the fitting of the linebackers is different. It's more, it may be more horizontal versus downhill when you're under center. The running from shotgun is obviously for the offense and the running back. It's a different, different landmark, a different angle of approach into the line of scrimmage. So that also can manipulate the keys for the defense, the timing and the angles. And so not only did the Bills present different constraints when it came to the run concept, especially when we're talking duo, when you're talking shotgun versus under center, but they also had a different constraint as far as concept. Okay, now it's going to look like shotgun duo, but honestly, now they're going to run inside zone, and we're going to get to that. So we're going to start in the second quarter, shotgun duo run. Second quarter, and you see it has those double teams. They're working to the backside linebacker. Watch Dawson Knox on the front side of this, and the front side of this play, same side as James Cook, and then watch David Edwards from the backside of this
such
play.
A great block by Edwards,
work across the formation, find work, and understand that he doesn't have leverage on that downhill linebacker, but as long as he gets his long arms on him, again, former tackle, longer arms, he can wash them out, and James Cook can read the block, which he does. James Cook cuts it back, and he gets into that second, third level.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this because I love run game stuff so much. And even this kind of initial presentation where you'll see Shavers, like motion and then shift and reset, this kind of like wing look, but with him and Shakir, we've started to see that more the past couple weeks, but it's been more under center. And now we're seeing it out of shotgun. And like you said, like they ran so much, especially compared to what they were doing before, so much more duo out of gun in this game, which just changes all these things like you talked about conceptually and what it means for the defense, angle, space, everything. But then you get this kind of execution up front. Just such a great job from Edwards, seeking out Giddens, number 51, does what he can to kind of wash him out and move him, escort him outside, doesn't get a penalty for a block in the back. He doesn't chuck him. He doesn't do too much. He just keeps moving his feet, establishes contact, rides him wide. Also really great job from Tyrell Shavers getting onto the corner, Carlton Davis driving him out. And then we get James Cook sinking his hips, following off that block from Edwards, getting north and south, continuing to do just such a good job this year of using his blocks, setting up his blocks. I love the way in this game too, and this is a good example for Cook. He would make a cut and immediately get downhill, get his shoulders square to the line, get north and south.
Very north-south runner of this game, right?
Which is crazy. Again, like just knowing what he was at Georgia, it's crazy to watch that evolution that he's undergone.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole episode we need to do
right?
In the future, right? So you got the shotgun duo run, but again, that was second quarter, 5:06 mark. So now they come back and they make the formation look very similar in, again, shotgun. This is a third quarter. So now we're in the second half, but instead of running duo, they run inside zone. And so look at what the Patriots are doing here. Look at them stack like they're going to see duo again, right? Like James Cook's going to come downhill and run duo, but they're honestly running something that unfolds like duo, but it's really just inside zone here. And so again, this is a presentational constraint. Okay, we ran duo in the first half. You saw us run it, but now what they're going to do is they're going to add a different play. It's a different concept. They run inside zone here. And you see James Cook do a great job of pressing the line of scrimmage, but in setting up his block right there, he attacks Torrance, and then Torrance is able to get to that next level. And then you see James Cook do a great job of, sliding through that crease to get into the second level.
Yeah, that's slalom ski style on
Yeah.
display here for Cook. We saw it a bunch in this game. Just his footwork and his hips and the vision, ability to press the line, get guys to commit. And look how he sets up 51 for Torrance there, like by
Yeah.
pressing and getting right into Torrance. That causes 51 to have to come up and honor that, which allows Torrance to come off his double, get to 51, and then Cook just gets yardage after it. There were so many little, I don't want to say hidden yardage because it wasn't completely hidden, but jobs from Cook of being able to find this yardage and take advantage of this space. And then you have highlighted there Barmore 90 and Jalen Hawkins 31. What are they
Coming
doing?
downhill like it's duo, right?
Exactly. They're coming down, maybe even eyes on Josh Allen a little bit
Yep.
because he's given it and taken off. Are they respecting him moving?
Zone
Yeah,
read. It could be that any
exactly.
of the two. Yeah, definitely.
And makes
that's
sense at this point in the game because we saw some QB runs from him. Like, so you're taking some
right.
guys out of the fit. Nice little help.
Yeah, and it's funny when you can tell when they ran inside zone, not just from the footwork. You'll see a little back step from James Cook and his landmark and where he's aiming for, but also Josh on the inside zone runs. He kind of squirted out here like full speed, making it look like he was going to run it, and just to kind of draw on the second level linebackers. So again, shotgun duo is a constraint of the under center duo, and then you got inside zone out of shotgun as a constraint of their duo play that they ran out of shotgun in the first half. And so now let's get to under center duo. This is the base play, just like Pace and Space said in that quote. This is their base play, probably the best play, run play, most effective run play, probably the most run play concept that they have this year. But again, this is a variation. You see Shavers and Shakir line up on opposite ends of this offensive line set and formation, and the Patriots send a blitz off the edge. They send a run blitz, and this is one of those plays in the fourth quarter at the 9:04 mark with the Bills running duo. This is one of those plays that the Patriots had a good idea that this was coming. And this is one of those plays that James Cook, and again, you talked about it a few minutes ago, and how much better he's been, how much he's developed as a running back, which for me, before studying James Cook week in, week out, there's a whole nother tangent, but running backs, to me, more times than not, either have it or don't. James Cook is developed so well. It's, again, an episode in itself, but he plays above the scheme here. This is really shut down, but he makes multiple Patriots defenders miss on this play, and he is able to get positive yardage to keep the Bills ahead of the chains, ahead of the sticks on this run play.
You know, when they've been running under center duo, you talked about a little bit of a variation. We've usually seen more like you'll see Shavers or somebody like right on the right foot of Jackson Hawes. So it's more of like a tight bunch, three to that side. Yep. And they'll exactly where you highlight, and they'll run duo that way. And then they paired it traditionally with mid-zone weak to the opposite side, to the left in this case, if we're talking from that presentation. But now, the last couple of weeks they started, really since that Pittsburgh game, you see Shavers out there like kind of hipped off a little bit. We've started to see that more, that hipped off type of look, and they're able to get to different things from it. We've seen them run play action from this and send Shakir or Shavers through the B gap and attack from there. So all these little constraints, all these little additives, layering, building, however you want to verbalize it, nice to see. And then, just from an individual standpoint, like the Patriots won here. They won this rep, and James Cook in an instant, just the footwork on this and the ability to sink the hips, and we get a cut, bang. Just that quick little cut. He plays through the contact, gets through the second level, through the line, plays through more contact. His progression, like you said, like an overall play style, but just the yards after contact, the toughness, the physicality. He came out as like a scat back juice kind of guy. Now he's a juice guy, and an in between the tackles, yards after contact guy, where he's breaking tackles and making guys miss. And it's not just speed and getting those 2 to 3 extra yards, hidden yardage all the time. It's really awesome to see.
I just love this battle. So, okay, back to the last play. You saw them, the last shotgun play. So right here, this is inside zone. Remember, now they're stacking this line because they think duo's coming. All right. And they run inside zone this way. Now we fast forward to the fourth quarter, and you see this look. And what are the Patriots doing now? They're actually loading the left side of the screen here to stop this inside zone run. And so watch what happens on this play. They once again send an all-out run blitz here. And what is James Cook able to do? Look at the patience. Look at the footwork. Look at him wait to set up that block by Spencer Brown right up the middle. And this is something the Bills did really well in this game is attack up the middle. No Milton Williams, no Robert Spillane. The Bills said, you know what? We're offering these constraints, these presentational constraints. We're going to run multiple concepts out of shotgun. A shotgun run for the Bills is breaking tendencies, right, Anthony?
Yes.
Like they don't run a lot of run plays out of shotgun. In this game, they ran several, and they ran a bunch of different concepts, and they did it right down Broadway, north and south. And you saw James Cook once again get away from some guys and get into that third level.
Yeah, I believe I haven't tracked in the past couple. Well, actually, I haven't. I don't remember. Their shotgun run rate on the year is like in the 20%. Like they're a heavy. Traditionally, it's been, if they're under center, they're running the ball. If they're in shotgun, they're passing the ball. So in and of itself, just running it all is a tendency breaker. And then let alone the concepts they're getting to. Like when they've been a duo team, it's been under center, but here we're showing you a bunch of the shotgun runs they're getting to.
Yep.
And, and like you said, like I love that game plan of just run it right through them, keep at them, like where they're kind of banged up. Tonga actually played well for them, 95 for the Pats. You see him battling against Torrance, but he's hurt in this game. Like keep going after him. You see him try to break through a little, and Cook just sits and waits. He knows how this is going to develop. He lets Brown get his block and gets through. I also like Jackson Hawes kind of giving it to Farmer a little bit there, 92. He took him for a ride a couple times in this game, having that inline tight end be able to just handle and bang.
Great
hands are fit in. Yes. Hands are fit inside. His hands are controlling. His feet are doing the driving. I love running the football. It's so nice.
Yeah, and in the fourth quarter, 6.5 minutes left in the game, under center, 12 personnel. What do you think's coming? There's Josh pointing out the down safety. 31's coming down. This is duo through and through, right?
This is one of the cleanest reps right down the chute that you will see.
Right. And so you get the initial double team with Torrance and Brown, and then Torrance once again works to that next level. And James does a great job of hitting that hole full speed right up the middle for the touchdown late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, this one hit so clean right through that A gap. Cook is already making his mark right at that front side linebacker, play side linebacker, I should say, like you do on your track on duo. And he makes him, 51 being that guy, have to make the decision. He gets north and south immediately. The blocks are clean elsewhere. He sees him kind of shaded a little bit towards the inside, more towards that A gap. So he puts his foot in the ground, gets off the right side of Osiris Torrance, or, the B gap between him and Spencer Brown. And then this is where, again, how he's built. He's got the speed. He's got the juice. You've got a safety who's coming down. And so the speed, he's always had that speed to kind of change angles and punish bad angles. But now he's got the contact balance and the strength to just run right through a shoulder, right through an arm tackle. This doesn't even really trip him up. It's essentially like a basic glancing blow runs right through him. Oh, it's not him just making the unblocked defender miss with speed. Now he can do it with physicality. He's become more complete as this offensive run game has become more complete.
And so those were the run constraints. Again, not only running on first down, kind of offsetting that, running play action on first down, but gun versus under center, gun duo versus inside zone out of gun, on top of the base play duo. Again, constraints, counters, presentations made to look like X play, but throwing a counter or a different concept altogether to offset and to slow down and control the defensive behavior. And so you have those type of constraints. Now we're going to talk about run constraints. Okay. So you have those base run plays that we just showed a bunch of them, especially duo. We're going to look at duo next. You can run play action off of those. So 3 weeks ago, I was told from one of the Bills players that one of the things they were working on was marrying the run concepts to the play action concepts, because that is really the crux of these constraints, right? You want to make them look the same. You want to not disguise, but you want to be able to hide what your intent on the play, whether it's a run versus pass. And so you just saw that duo play. You just saw that duo formation, right? And you saw that they ran that. That was the fourth quarter. The thing with the constraints is that you don't have to sequence them. Oh, show the run first, then show the pass first. As you can see, this was an under center duo, not the only one they ran, but the Bills have run this play so often that constraint, that base play is already established. So they could come in the third quarter at the 11:54 mark on 2nd and 4 and run the play action off duo, even though maybe they didn't show duo. I want you guys to understand that the other 13 games that they've played in, they've showed this formation, this play.
Yeah.
It's money. You can guarantee that. So on this play, what the Bills do show on 2nd and 4 in the low red zone is duo, just like the play you just saw. And what do you think happens here? The defense gets caught up with their eyes in the backfield because, again, it's a downhill running play. They got to process, run the pass. And I want you specifically to look at Jones as the Bills players kind of show like they're going to be, double team blocking here and getting downhill and cleaning up these gaps like a duo run unfolds. But on this play, Josh pulls it, gets out the front door, and now you have Dawson Knox with just enough separation and leverage on a very fast, very athletic, a very smart nickel corner in Marcus Jones, and he has just enough separation for Josh to hit him for the touchdown. Dawson Knox, touchdown on this play on a run constraint. Again, a play meant to look like duo, but a play built off of duo in the form of play action for the touchdown.
I cannot tell you how much this excites me to start to see the play action building off of their core run concepts. And like you said, like this screams duo because of the formation and the presentation, let alone they're in 13 personnel. They're in the low red zone, like even more adding to the, okay, here comes duo. And then we get that look front side and it's all a lie and it's all deception. And you have the arrow highlighted for Marcus Jones. Look at Marcus Jones. Like he's peeking, he's watching the double teams and he's peeking in the backfield. Now look at him. He's looking in the back still kind of like, okay, where's the ball? Who has it? Then all of a sudden, it's play action. And like you said, Knox is already out the front door. Also, good job by Dawson Knox selling it. But this is really nice. We've started to see really, again, the last several weeks of them starting to get into more, play action off of duo and some play action off of their core run concepts, which we'll get into more in a minute here. It's been nice to see. Earlier in the year, it was like play action off a blast counter. And it was like, okay, that's cool, but let's get some play action off duo. Let's get some play action off the mid zone and everything. And now we're starting to see it come. And again, it's when you have 13 weeks or whatever established of, hey, when they come out in this, they're probably going to do duo. And now it's like, when they're coming out in this, it could be something else. Not to mention, too, this type of formation, maybe not so much out of 13 personnel. They'll take that end man on the line of scrimmage and Dalton Kincaid last year a ton, and they've done it this year, too. They'll send that end man, especially if it's a wide receiver, they'll send him in that jet or fly motion across the formation, and then they'll run like the weak side mid zone stuff. But now what they did in this game a little bit, they started doing that, but then they'd still run duo. So it's all kind of like, you think you got us pegged. You think you know what we know. Well, we know what you know. And
there
guess what? Here comes this.
That's the constraint. I knew you were going to say that. And that is the constraint and the purpose behind constraints. It was like, it always reminds me, because I feel like Chip Kelly, when he's at Oregon, he was the master of this. Like he would just run inside zone out of shotgun and just build on the different layers on that base play. And so we're going to continue with this theme. Third quarter, 7:52 mark, a 2nd and 4 play. You talked about mid zone. Well, guess what? They ran that too. And so you see them with the formation. They get everyone set. What do you think's happening? Oh, there goes your wide receiver across the formation, right? Here comes mid zone. We've seen it several times this year. Look at Marcus Jones. Make a note of that. Watch Marcus Jones' behavior on this play. He is a run gap filler on this, so he has to come down. And what do the Bills do? They run boot off of it. And you see Hawes initially block, release, end man Landry goes upfield to stop Josh. Josh gets his hands up real quick and then eventually gets it to Jackson Hawes, who got leverage and got space because of the base play, mid zone, the presentation of mid zone coming. Marcus Jones, who's again is responsible for a gap in the run game, gets caught looking in the backfield, and that allows the Bills to what? Skip third down, 2nd and 4, moves the chains on this play. Very important when you're talking the Bills offense.
Yeah, to be able to, like you said, skip third downs and just continue to move the sticks through 1st and through 2nd down, or even if this was on 3rd down, you get yourself an easy drive starter. All of a sudden, it's 6 or 7 yards on 1st down. Now you're sitting there looking at 2nd and 4. Or 2nd and 3, and the playbook expands, and there's more options available to you in terms of what you want to do. And yeah, Jones gets caught peeking in the backfield. He sells out, doesn't even really process that Shavers is running by him, potential route, and then you get a nice little. I feel like the Bills can do even more like tight end leaks and delays, especially with how well Hawes blocks, or even Knox in general. But You get Hawes. I know I was saying it right. Hawes attaches to Landry, sheds him, lets him go. Get that nice, easy completion. This is easy for Josh Allen. I know he's moving and he still has to make the throw, but this is as easy as pitch and catch can be for him. He just dumps it off, makes it easy on himself, makes it easy on the offense, and you keep things rolling.
Right. Again, that's a run constraint. That is taking a base run play, mid-zone duo, adding a constraint to kind of protect and not allow the defense to control their behavior and immediately tee off and come downhill and stop duo and stop mid-zone. You have something to make them think, hey, I have to stay back and process, run the pass, go through my keys as usual. And so that's something that again, when we're talking constraints, it was cool to see how much in line with those quotes, this game was for the Bills. And so finally, a true constraint. All right. And this is something we talk about every week, and we're going to use this base play mesh, and the Bills run different variations of it, but mesh, it's something that the Bills run week in and week out, sometimes in good ways, sometimes in bad. Actually, they scored on a mesh play in this game. This week it is good.
Good mesh week.
Right. There was an awesome constraint to mesh. So a play that is made to look like mesh, but they pivoted off of it, and no pun intended. They ran a return route to Dawson Knox, as you'll see on this 3rd and 5 play. And again, that's a counter. It's a way to present mesh, but then take it away and run a different play, Anthony. And this was a fun one to watch unfold. And in many ways kind of unfolds like mesh traffic or mesh slither with the running backs. But watch how in the second quarter, the Bills run this mesh constraint, mesh return, mesh pivot to Dawson Knox, and how it looks halfway through this route. Look, it looks like they're going to be running mesh here, but want you to pay attention to Dawson Knox and how he pivots back to the boundary and uncovers with some traffic from the other receivers. Again, on 3rd down, a nice play to create some separation from that safety, much like on the duo play action from Marcus Jones. The Bills were able to get Dawson Knox and these tight ends on the edges to convert first downs, especially in high leverage situations like this constraint, this mesh constraint on 3rd down.
I love this so much. On broadcast, I thought it was straight up mesh return where you were getting like the double return or the double pivot routes from each drag, but then it ended up essentially just being kind of from Knox here, and it works out so well. You can see Knox's man again. Why? Because they run mesh so much.
Yep.
Everybody knows at this point, like all the jokes, like the mesh jokes, it's not just from us. You're getting some from the national media too. Like people know Joe Brady and mesh, ha ha ha. Look at that defender that Eric has highlighted. He is ready to drive because he thinks what's coming. Here comes the shallow drag. Here comes that cross. He's going across. It's going to be mesh. I'm going to cut him off. I'm going to take care of it. Instead, Knox slams on the brakes and pivots, and not only is 31 essentially kind of out leveraged already, but then you get the extra little rub from Shakir, a little bit from Shavers.
Shavers knows too, right?
Yes.
He knows first down.
He knows 1000%. He can see it coming. Shakir also does a really nice job too. Like if you start this from the snap, you can see Shakir as soon as he releases off the line, his eyes are locked in to Knox's man.
Knox's defender, yeah.
Yes. So he's trying to run that route legally and obstruct Knox's man legally, which he does. And then look where Shavers is right now. Shavers, his eyes are on Knox's man. He's trying to do some legal obstruction. So the design was good from Brady. You're anticipating man. You get it. Good execution from Shakir, good execution from Shavers, but it all starts with the constraint. It all starts with the tendency of, guess what? Here comes mesh, psych, and you see the defender selling out. Do you know how many times, especially because it's the second time the Patriots played them and they had the bye week, you know how many times they like probably are joking during the week? Yeah, here comes mesh. They're running mesh. Ha, ha, ha. He sees that. That's 31. That's, what's his face? The rookie from Cal, Woodson.
Woodson. No, Woodson. You're right. Yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah. Yep. I was gonna say, I think I was confused. Yeah, Hawkins is 21. He sees it. He might be thinking like, oh, I got an interception. Oh, I got a PBU. He triggers psych. Like that's, you just create that doubt in a defender and in a defense. It's so nice.
Yeah, and you see this play, the actual base play, right? The mesh pivot, the mesh return, it was the constraint play to this base play mesh, and this is mesh rail. at the 2-minute mark of the second quarter. This is a big touchdown, a very decisive throw and decision by Josh. So you got the mesh and you got the rail, and typically that rail route from James Cook is the primary target. And then usually number 2, as we've broken this down way too many times, Coleman coming from the top of the screen. So you see
if you clipped all the mesh rails we've done, you would
God.
get like 2.5 episodes worth at least. It would be hours long.
Hours long, and we're just talking just from when Brady took over halfway through
Yeah.
that season when Dorsey was fired, because he immediately went to this as a base play. But so they throw it to Cook here. There's some traffic, obviously, because of the orbit motion from Shakir. So there's technically 4 eligibles right here. And so obviously in man coverage, it's going to really kind of mess with the pattern matching rules with these 4 guys right here. And you see a half a click late is Ellis, the linebacker right here. Gonzo is right here. Here's Ellis, and he's taking Cook on the rail. And there's just a half a click. It doesn't take much, but Josh is able to thread it to Cook and put it perfectly, place it perfectly, so Cook can look it in and out leverage Ellis to the corner of the end zone for the touchdown.
The ball placement from Allen, the throw is so like kind of I think underappreciated in this one. I'm so glad you called it out, because even though Ellis, he is a half step behind, because he steps up and then you can see he almost kind of has to like avoid Gonzalez in front of him rather than just being able to play straight over the top and having a straight line. But if this throw is a little behind Cook or makes him slow down a little bit, Ellis is still in decent enough position and his angle isn't bad, but Allen puts it right on Cook's face and Cook's able to catch it and just continue straight.
Transition, yeah.
Exactly. Straight on that line, transition right through that catch, right into kind of the front pylon area of the end zone. Just a really good ball from Allen. He started to get really good with his ball placement to Cook on throws out of the backfield, whether it's on like, especially on like, you know, the little swing routes or even like little flares and stuff.
Escort screens,
Yes.
swings there,
Yeah, starting to get really good with that ball placement to let Cook really take advantage of some run after catch. And yeah, this one, for all the jokes, you know, you had the mesh constraint earlier, but this was mesh rail right off rip, and so many teams have gotten over the top on it. I was actually kind of surprised that the Pats didn't, considering it's their second time playing the Bills and they had the extra week. But, you know, hey, dance with who brought you. Mesh rail brought them, and they get an easy touchdown out of it.
All right, let's get on to some of the other plays from the game. This was a big completion in the third quarter, 40-second mark left in the third quarter, 3rd and 7 play. And one that, you know, watching live, I was like, wow, that was, you know, Kincaid was wide open, but there's a lot more that went into it. So prior to the snap, you see Josh, the Patriots are double mugging. So they have linebackers in the A gap. So Josh thinks pressure's coming. He brings Ty Johnson up to the A gap to take Mapu, number 15, but Mapu drops out. And the Bills are running a nice post from the slot to Dalton Kincaid. But I want you to watch Josh manipulate the linebacker as the Patriots appear to jump out into more of like a cover 2 or 2 read type defense. So a too high structure. But you can see these second level defenders don't get depth. But that's because they have eyes on Shakir. But more importantly, this linebacker, the depth backup linebacker, he jumps the check down to Ty Johnson. But he jumps it because of Josh Allen and how he kind of has a little shoulder fake, like he is going to check it down, and watch how everyone reacts, especially 51. And now you have that you know, level, that third level pass behind the second level linebackers for the big play. Very good eye manipulation from Josh to get that second level defender to jump the check down and then sneak it behind him to Kincaid for the first down.
Yeah, Allen kind of creates his own little high-low right there, and 51 nails down on Ty Johnson, and Kincaid slips right behind him. There's so much space at that second level. You know, it's funny, too, watching this when just kind of on an off note, you mentioned the coverage. I was like, is this straight cover 2? And then I was like, but looking at the safety alignment, I was like, they're still kind of quarters alignment. I'm like, so I'm thinking 2 read type of palms type of deal. But either way, like it doesn't matter. You see, you know, the squats on the outside from each outside corner, eyes in the backfield from the second level. There's not even a register for Kincaid at all. Kincaid gets right behind everybody, and you can see all the eyes on the interior of that field. Marcus Jones, Mapu, Giddens, they're all focused on the interior, eyes through their men to Allen, focused on the underneath. Get that little shoulder shimmy to make them commit that a little extra bit. Throw it right over the top. This was a big one. This was that 3rd and 7, as you had highlighted on the bottom. But the Bills, you're kind of backed up in your own end zone. You want to keep that momentum going, and Allen kind of manufactures it a little bit for himself. This end zone angle is a really good one too. Like he looks right at Johnson with the shoulder shimmy. This shows you more of why Giddens bit into that. It's not just the shoulder, it's the eyes too. And he's like, oh, I'm going to come up and make the stop. And then Allen throws like a 1 foot fastball right over the top and pins it on Kincaid.
So pretty, man. There was plays like that again that you're watching broadcast and your emotions are going through it, right? Going through the ringer. You don't really get to appreciate how that play was executed. And so it was cool to see that from the all 22 angle. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to the fourth quarter, 10-minute mark and a 3rd and 14. This is after the Bills took a penalty here. And there weren't many plays that Josh had to put the cape on. Again, I thought he did a great job of just remaining composed and controlled in this game. But on this play with the Bills backed up, and there's not many play calls for 3rd and 14. There's no doubt Joe Brady said, you know what? I'm calling all verticals. I'm going to put this on you, Josh. You need to make a play. And this was a play that we deemed our easy loan auto sales, making it look easy. Play of the game. Josh made a play with the Patriots in zone initially, but because of all the vertical routes, it turns essentially to man-to-man. So basically, this safety now has this guy in man. Now Keon Coleman is manned up. And so you get the isolation with Dawson Knox on that backup linebacker. Zone eventually turns the man in this all verticals concept. And Josh escapes the pocket, and he's able to throw a piss missile to Dawson Knox for a touchdown. And I will also add that in one of the post-game pressers of the Pats, one of the coaches or players said that they screwed up on this play. So this guy spikes in here. There was supposed to be a looper. That doesn't happen. And that is why Josh is able to get out to his right, which you never want to let him do. He gets out to his right. Patriots make a mistake. Bills get the matchup they want, and Josh makes them pay for the touchdown.
Good pull. That was, even during broadcast, the first thing, like even before kind of being cognizant of like, wow, what a throw. My first thought was, why would you both crash inside and give Allen free access to roll right? And then I was like, well, it's 3rd and 14. You're maybe thinking everybody can close down. It's fine. But yeah, you have that track highlighted, and you can even see that edge player.
Yeah,
he's getting hands on Torrance. Yeah, he's picking. He's spiking, expecting that loop to come. Barmore, number 90, doesn't loop. So now him and Landry, number 2, are both trapped inside. Allen gets to his right. We know what he can do, but still, Allen being nice eyes from Landry.
Landry is looking right at Barmore like, what the hell are you doing?
Why would you do that? Yeah, nice eyes from Landry there looking at Barmore. And just, man, like they had scored a touchdown on the previous play. They get called for holding, which someone should tell Mike Vrabel because he was upset or whatever because the Bills don't get called for holding, or they didn't get called for a lot of holds in this game because they get called for so many. Not to mention, even if they do get called for holds, like I don't know how many of them are on snatch traps that aren't friggin' holds anyway. But
I'd say probably about 75% of the holds that are called on the Bills offensive line are snatch traps.
That's fair. So
I think it's a very high percentage.
That's super fair. Yeah, and so Vrabel should shut it.
Yeah,
shut it. But what a zip it good. Just a bullet from Allen, piss miss, like you said, right on the numbers. They're kind of just in like almost like a Tampa 2 type of deal. So Giddens is just running the pole with the verts from everybody else. It turns into match and turns into man. I also love too how Knox just continues his route along that back line, separates from Giddens. Yeah. And just, again, an absolute bullet right over Mapu, number 15 from Allen, right on the numbers, right on the screws to Knox. And especially for it to come right after you just scored a touchdown. Your momentum gets taken away. You got called for a penalty. You're sitting there. It's 3rd and goal from the 14. The odds are not in your favor, but the Pats screw up. Allen takes care of it. That's why it's making it look easy. Play.
Yeah. A very easy play, right, Anthony? Very easy play, very easy throw from Josh. That was our making it look easy play of the game, presented by Easy Loan Auto Sales.
Yes, of course, this play and, the concept, as you folks know, the Make It Look Easy play of the game, sponsored by our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales. Easy Loan Auto Sales is Western New York's premier buy here, pay here car dealership with locations in Buffalo and Lockport. Regardless of your credit history, they offer the fastest car buying experience around. Get approved and reserve your vehicle all from your phone. Start your approval at easyloanauto.com, and you could be driving today, just like Josh Allen drove that piss missile right past Mapu and to Dawson Knox.
Yeah, just fun stuff when it came to that side of the ball. I thought, again, Josh did a great job. The offense and the staff did a great job of making adjustments and staying ahead of the Patriots defense. I thought they did a great job of not only sticking to the game plan, but doing some things to stay a step ahead of Vrabel and that defensive staff. And we saw it pay off where, again, they just went on a run and were scoring almost at will and getting chunk plays in the run game. You know, some decent plays in the intermediate areas, as you saw on that Kincaid throw, to advanced drives. And really, when we get to the defense, to kind of complement the defense and the stops that they did get in the second half, because it was a tale of two halves. And I do think a lot of that credit, as ugly as it was in the first half for the defense, I do think that they deserve a lot of credit in the second half.
Yeah, the way they were able to just continuously attack the Pats and get them off the field. You know, the story, the Bills, 5 straight touchdowns, but the Bills constantly getting the ball back. Well, the Bills defense constantly getting the ball back to the Bills offense.
Right.
They just stayed in that rhythm. They stayed with that momentum. They'd score. I think Allen said it maybe in the presser after the game, like their mentality of like when they get down of like stop, score, stop, score, stop, score. That's just how it happened. The Bills scored. They score that first touchdown at the end of the first half. The Pats go down. They get a field goal. And then it's touchdown and stop and touchdown and stop and touchdown and stop. And a lot of times it's negative yardage and it's not a lot of plays. And there's barely any time being taken up by the Patriots. In that third quarter, the Patriots ran 7 plays for 17 yards, and they only had the ball for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. They had 2 drives. One was a punt. One was an interception. Their first play or their first drive after the Bills opened the second half with a touchdown, they went 3 plays for negative 6 yards. The Bills came out. Yep, they started, blitzing a little bit more, attacking a little bit more. We saw because Ogunjobi penetrates right on that first play. You get TFL, and it was almost like right there. It was like they planted the flag of like that first half isn't happening again. We know what's up. We know what we're doing, and it just continued from there.
Right, and it really was a tale of two halves. I mean, the Patriots ran 18 plays in the second half for like a total of 100 yards and 3 total first downs. 3 of those were runs. That is the weirdest thing too. Let's talk about that real quick. Is how I think Josh McDaniels and the Patriots, along with a couple of the other games that the Bills played against and coordinators they played against, I feel like when Josh starts coming back and he gets in rhythm and he starts putting pressure and points on the board, I think not only does that pressure and stress out the defense, but I do think it has put pressure on opposing coordinators and opposing quarterbacks, because not only do the quarterbacks have they seemed to kind of stumble in the second half, and Drake Maye stumbled in the second half. But I do think coordinators commit more to passing, which is really crazy to think when you talk about the Bills' weaknesses and their inability to stop the run, and being able to control the clock, and you're up on the scoreboard, and you all of a sudden you start pivoting to passing. It was 3 run plays in that second half by the Patriots. Obviously, the big long one for the touchdown was Henderson, but even that play was really bottled up. It was just the backside pursuit and contain got out of their lanes, but 3 run plays out of 18 plays in the second half. That was really an eye-opener.
Yeah, they ran the ball 22 times in the first half and ended up running it 3 in the second half. Yeah, if I will say I'm pulling up my tweet. In the first half versus the Bills, the Pats ran the ball 22 times for an EPA per rush of positive 0.437. That was the highest first half EPA per rush of any team in Week 15. They also had a rushing success rate of 59.7%, which was the 5th highest first half rush rate of any team in Week 15. They then proceeded to run the ball 3 times in the second half.
Crazy. 3 times in the second half.
I don't get it. Like I like your theory of positing that theory of kind of, like, oh, Allen, and they're scoring, we're trying to keep up, but it's so funny with knowing what the Bills' vulnerabilities are and pairing that with, like, you don't want to give the ball back to the Bills' offense. You don't want to give it to Allen. So you start playing into the Bills' hands defensively because they're a better pass defense, much better pass defense than they are run defense, and they're vulnerable against the run. You stop running the ball, especially in a game, too, where Not that Jordan Phillips really helps out against the run, but Phillips goes down. So they're down a body on the interior when they're already down. Yeah, they're already down a ton of bodies. And rather than continuing to attack that, you play into their hands and pass more. And you also don't sustain drives, and you keep giving it back to the Bills offense. So the Pats offense fed into what the Bills offense was doing, which fed into what the Bills defense was doing. And I don't want to make it sound like I or we are like taking anything away from the Bills defense, because they did switch things up. But my biggest thing going into the tape watch was like, I was like, okay, like, was it just the Bills completely selling out in the patch? Like, okay, we got to get out of the run, but they almost kind of took themselves out of it. And it's still baffling to me, for as much of the story of like what you want to hang your hat on for what fan base or who covers what, like the media for each team or national, whatever. My biggest thing is still, I can't believe the Pats turned away from the run that much, because they had opportunities to do so and they just went away from it and played into the Bills' hands perfectly.
And that's kind of what fueled the comeback. And it's what's fueled the comeback for multiple games this year. And so I put a tweet up the other day that I have on the screen. I said the Bills tend to play their loosest, most dangerous football when they're trailing. That's when both sides open up their offense and defense. So Josh Allen starts creating magic, of course, and in doing so puts that real stress on opposing defenses, opposing offenses, quarterbacks, everyone included. And so that pressure kind of flips the game for the defense. In second halves, you see them turn up that aggression, whether it's run blitzes or pass blitzes at times and high leverage situations, which we're going to show a bunch of those. But those run blitzes not only slow down the opposing offense, and they create those, hey, instead of 2nd and 6, they're now 2nd and 13. Like you talked about the Ogunjobi tackle for loss. It gets them behind the sticks. And then all of a sudden, for some reason in the Patriots game, Josh McDaniels was like, well, guess what? I'm just going to go to pass. And so when they were going to pass, I thought Babbage and McDermott did a great job of disguising their coverages, but not just disguising them. They did a great job of just really throwing the kitchen sink at him, as many people have talked about, and really just throwing an array of looks at him and and I'm talking not just like straight up looks, zone versus man. I'm talking split field coverages that on one side looks like man, and he's looking at that side as his primary reads over there, and he's like, oh, okay, there's man coverage. But those first two reads are covered. I'm going to go to the other side field. What the hell am I looking at? This is zone? What's happening here? And it really slowed Drake Maye down and got him to hold on to the ball and got him to question himself and not trust his eyes, which again threw off his rhythm, add in the pressure that he felt from Josh and the Bills offense. And you saw some of those passes in the second half were inaccurate, or he got to his reads too late.
Yeah, he had some guys, he had some opportunities, but his eyes weren't in the right spot, or he wasn't making the right throw. And you got to credit and give kudos to the Bills for that with what they were doing. And, granted, there's some unforced error aspect to Maye, but I thought the Bills really continued to play on that front foot, and they attacked. We saw, a lot of press. We saw guys battling and getting into the kitchens of wide receivers, and just everything that they did, for disguised coverage tonight. For those who don't know, I'm going to be diving into literally every single play defensively for the Bills in the second half. And so I have everything kind of charted in front of me. And from a pass play perspective, you've got quarters, but Dorian Williams adding on. So it's a 5-man rush with quarters behind it. You've got a cover 1 blitz. You've got some cover 8, and every time they're doing the cover 8 or cover 2 stuff, or cover 6 stuff, I should say, to that quarter side, if it's that solo receiver, they're locking it essentially.
Yeah, they're manning up. Yeah,
it'd be Hairston manned up on the solo receiver, Milano or whoever is manned up against the back, and how they were rotating in and out of these coverages. We got a non-traditional Tampa at one point. We get the simulated pressure for the Joey Bosa tip, where they drop both edges off and bring Shaq, just tying into like, what, let's play on the front foot. Let's try and get this ball back to the offense, whether they kill us fast or we get the stops. They just got the stops. And also, even too, like schematically, it was cool, but the individual execution, you alluded to it a bit earlier, like what you got from Trey White, what you got from Matt Milano. Max Hairston, I thought, played well in this game. Even some things up front, like that, they're not going to get a ton of credit for. Greg Rousseau had a couple nice timely pressures that made Drake Maye have to evade and step out of the pocket. Daquan Jones is hustling and barreling after Maye to force him out of bounds. Yeah, like everything just as I'm saying it more, like this game for the Patriots now in my head feels like a drought era Bills game where like
Yeah.
everything's stacked against them and the other team just kept hitting all the right buttons in the
All the
right way.
buttons. Yep.
Boom. Yeah.
And one guy that really made the Patriots and Drake May, kind of suffer a lot in this game was Matt Milano.
Man.
10 total tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 6 stops. When he's available, he still has enough in the tank to be a matchup linebacker. And I think he still does, even if he's 85% of the old Matt Milano. He still has that matchup linebacker ability and talent.
Yeah.
And he does still open up the defense. He allows them to play more man coverage across the board, play more man coverage on the backside of these 3-by-1 looks, whether he's covering a tight end or the running back on that side. He and Shaq at times, more Milano though, was physical coming downhill, not just in the run game like we're going to show here in a second, but when those running backs were releasing, or those tight ends were releasing, and the Bills are in cover 2 man or some type of man coverage where he's got the running back, he came down and eliminated them as checkdowns.
He was creating collision points all the time
yes.
to just stop them as soon as they released.
And then he played really well over the top in the run game. So let's get into some of that stuff here on the screen with the Bills defense. Matt Milano, great game from him. And of course, he's a linebacker, so I love studying this.
You're so excited.
First quarter, 14-minute mark here. Watch how he, again, stays over the top of the block. He's reading and processing out in front, the run blocking concept. But then he understands who he's got to beat now. And with Hairston setting that edge, he inserts right into his gap. And this is old school Matt Milano, how he bends. He uses that ankle flexion or flexibility to get under the block, where even if he doesn't make this tackle, which he does, put the running back on the ground, even if he doesn't, he's forcing the cutback into pursuit. He does a great job of shaving angles here, avoiding that block, and making the tackle on the running back.
That's literally, I don't have too much to add here. My big note is Milano shaving the angle and not only being in position to force this back, but getting through that block with the dip and the bend and then making a formed up tackle on Travion Henderson. Such a beautiful play from Milano. Very much that old school Milano. And also shout out to Max Hairston there too, getting around on the outside and, absorbing the block from Henry and being a force player. He kind of forces it back to Milano, and then Milano closes it through and forces it back, but then makes the play. Really good run defense from a positioning standpoint from Max Hairston, and then obviously the finish by Milano.
Right. Here's a 4-3 look, 3 linebackers on the field, on the ball. Linebacker Dorian Williams. Watch Milano again in the first quarter. And he's reading again out in front as these runs are kind of going out to the perimeter. You see TJ Sanders kind of get bumped inside out of his gap. And Milano not only stays over the top of the guy that's going to block him, but you'll see him adjust and get under that block and into the gap that he needs to fit into just past TJ Sanders to, again, be at the point of contact, to be at that line of scrimmage to help bring down the running back.
Yeah, the Patriots 58 gets on the Bills 58, Matt Milano. And, he's not, for the Pats, 58's not in great position, so he doesn't want to get, full blocking in the back, but he's trying to attach, ride him wide a little bit, and Milano just throttles down, is able to anchor himself a little bit, stick those feet in the ground, and just throws his body into the hole. That's the old, reckless abandon type of Matt Milano. Like, his right arm is essentially occupied as he's fending off 58 and trying to slow himself down. So he just throws 3/4 of his body and his entire left shoulder right into Travion Henderson to make the stick in the hole. Slows him up, trips him up, ball goes down. Just that ability to fit off of what he sees mentally and then being able to execute that physically. Very nice.
Yeah, here's a high leverage situation. 3rd and 7, third quarter, 10-0-6 mark of the third quarter, a cover 6 type look here. One with Milano on the line of scrimmage, attacking the quarterback. And so the little motion from the running back shows man coverage. And I want you to watch how this unfolds. So again, the Bills sent a lot of these cover 6. Sometimes some people call them cover 8 type looks where
I'm one of those people.
where you can run, little hybrid coverages where half of it's man, half of it's zone. So to the bottom of the screen, Hairston's locked right here. And then Dorian Williams is locked on the running back, as you saw from that motion. Milano is a rusher here. And you can see to the top of the screen, there's a trips look, and the Bills drop out Shaq Thompson right here to the underneath area, and they're playing a 4-over-3. So they're pattern matching that side. So essentially, you have 2 man to the bottom right here, right? Because you have two guys locked up in man coverage and a deep safety, 2-man there. And then you're playing box coverage, kind of like a cover 4 type look here, pattern matching to the top. And so as the ball is snapped, I want you to watch how the coverage unfolds and how the running back stays in the block to help. So now you're just adding on a blitzer and Dorian Williams. And I like how Matt Milano initially, you'll see it from the end zone angle, he attacks that tackle to give the edge to Bosa, and how that helps, forces Drake Maye to step up in the pocket. Now you have Rousseau attacking, and finishing is Matt Milano at the top of the drop there. Just really good coverage on the back end. But I like having all these guys at the line of scrimmage. Who's coming? Who's blitzing? You're adding on. This is some very good scheme by the Bills, but even better execution. As I said, watch the high-low. So you have Bosa on the high side. You have Rousseau on the low side. You have Milano, again, kind of throwing some interference to that tackle. Here comes Dorian Williams. They're attacking Drake Maye. They're pattern matching on the backside. They're playing man on another side. They threw a little bit of everything at Drake Maye. And watch Milano. Look at the bend and the ankle flexion. And then
look at that
as
ankle.
he wins that edge, he seals that edge win with the hand usage to bring down Drake Maye for the sack.
This is all just defense that speaks to me so hard.
So much goodness, dude.
Bro, like the playing on the front foot, the pattern matching, and just taking the fight to an offense. What I also like too, and I noticed that a bunch in this second half, you got a lot of like straight up like 3-3 type of look from the Bills up front, where it was 3 down linemen and they weren't doing the dime stuff. They were doing like Dorian
3 backers.
Yeah. Which I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing. But to your point, that adds in more when you're showing those pressure looks. It's a different type of deal if Dorian Williams is in the A gap versus Cam Lewis or Cole Bishop or whoever. And I thought that added on. I love the whole add-on rusher thing. Like, we're attacking that back end protection.
Yeah.
And if he stays in, we're a straight up add-on rusher. And if he's not, he releases, we're occupying him. We're creating the collision point and taking him out. And then you have Diggs highlighted up top.
That's what I think they wanted to go to, Diggs. And talk about this too. The first half, the Bills did some nice things to kind of take Diggs out of some nice brackets. Talk about that real quick too. As again, Taron Johnson does a great job of taking away this inside release, this little we call like a follow concept. You have this guy coming across the middle, you follow it with Diggs, but Taron Johnson at the collision point takes that away.
Yeah, Taron takes it away on this one. You have the over across where it looks like there's some space. Shaq is a bit over the top on that. And you talked about Diggs in the first half. 2 of the first third downs in the first quarter, Diggs was in the slot, and the Bills essentially like doubled him or bracketed him. Like cover 1 double, and usually it was Bishop as that extra bracket. It was Taron and Bishop on both of them, I believe. One, Diggs is in the slot to the left, one he's in the slot to the right. The Bills get to it from a little bit of different presentation, but there was respect for him. They wanted to take him away early, and they allocated some resources to it. They don't do that a ton. They don't do a ton of like straight up bracket and doubling like that. We've seen them do it for, some high profile guys at times. I think I'm even thinking the last time, the
Garrett
Bucs
Wilson.
the Bucs against the
game. Yep.
A little bit.
They do it every once in a while, but it was, I thought they did a great job doing it early in this game, because then once the second half hit, they didn't do it as much, if at all. And they had, in some of the zone looks, they trapped with the corners, the boundary corners, if Diggs was in the slot, but they didn't bracket him a lot. And I think doing that early really established and kind of shied Drake Maye away from looking to Diggs in the second half.
That's a super fair point, because he didn't look to him a ton. They got it to him I think once on that on that over route on that third down on like the shallow drag where he gets away from Taron. And then he tries to go to him on that last play of the game for their offense that gets batted down by Bosa, but that's off of scramble drill. He was really looking towards Hunter Henry, the backside of the backfield, even Booty a little bit. But I like that point from you. I think they made a concerted effort to kind of take him away, and it's almost like Maye just assumed they were going to continue to take him away for the rest of the game and try to go elsewhere.
Here's another coverage play, cover 6 type look, 2nd and 5, fourth quarter, 6:07 left in the game. And the Bills are sending Milano from the bottom of the screen. So more of a creeper pressure, and they're dropping out Joey Bosa. And in this fourth quarter, the last 2 drives in the fourth quarter, the Bills, as I said, they emptied their clip a bunch. So another cover 6 type look. So you have basic, cover 2 to the bottom, and then you have cover 4, quarter halves to the top. And so watch how this rotates post snap as Milano again rushes, and gets picked up by the running back. And so right now, Milano's working through an offensive lineman, but also the running back. And Maye is looking to the top of the screen, and he sees that Taron is working from the slot position out to the flats. Again, quarter, and then you see that Taron Johnson has the hook, the curl, the flat. So that's why he's buzzing out to the flats to that little route out there. And so as they do that, Maye is working through his progression. So he's taking these guys away, Taron Johnson is, and then now Maye gets to the middle of the field, but these guys, Bosa and Shaq Thompson, take that away. And now you do get this guy open right here, but because of what Maye was looking at, he's not able to get to essentially his like last guy in his progression. And that's because Matt Milano, man, working through the running back, he's able to bring down Drake Maye. So a very good, change in presentation, more of a creeper type look. They're not having everyone up in their line of scrimmage, but Matt Milano worked through the block of the running back, and he's able to bring down Drake Maye for the sack.
Yeah, we essentially, like you said, you get that cover 6 creeper pressure where you get the non-traditional rusher and Matt Milano rushing. You get the traditional rusher and Joey Bosa dropping right there. I also like when Bosa drops, obviously he did it on the game sealing play, but even on this one too, you see Bosa drop, and he's not just like dropping to drop, like he's kind of cognizant of what's going around. He's got eyes on Maye, and I love that you have the kind of field vision cones there for Maye, because it really puts into perspective what you said from the sideline. He exhausts his progressions. You watch him go from 1, I don't like that, 2 is not there, 3, I don't like that. Oh, here's the backside dig. Let me get to sack. Like that.
Rushing coverage, man. Rushing coverage, right?
The marriage, the synchronization, those two things coming together. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even notice I was locked in my notes. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Michael, for being here. Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you very much for the super chat. Michael says, something tells me this will not be the last time we see Milano in the film room this season. Fingers crossed. Massive fingers crossed. And no, I would say no superstition and, no jinx or anything on that. Hopefully we get to continue to break him down some more. But he had a huge game. And then even just him, like, look at the relentlessness. Like, he gets met by the running back. And then 58 is also giving hands to him too. This is him just wanting it. Like, he just fights through that double. Granted, 58 falls off him at the end, but that's just relentlessness. And it's his relentlessness that gets him through, but it's the coverage that allows him to get the sack. Both of those things work in tandem. And Eric, we talked about it so much on this show. We've seen so much where the coverage lets down the rush or the rush lets down the coverage. In this game, especially in the second half, it felt like there was more connection between the two and they were playing off of one another. The coverage would make Maye hold the ball and the pressure would get there, or Maye would have a potential answer early and the rush would get him off the spot and flush him, and the coverage would take care of it from there. And that's a really good example there.
All right, here's a 2nd and 5 play from the fourth quarter. 2:18 left in the game. Is a Tampa 2 type variation here where they drop down Jordan Poyer into this hook to curl area right here. Again, changing that picture, right? Changing that picture pre to post snap where Poyer's dropping down. Now Trey White becomes that deep half safety or quasi safety, and changing that picture. Taron Johnson once again getting out into the flats right there, and and the thing is, a lot of times you're calling these type of plays or the rotations and from the safeties versus certain looks like, hey, this is a 2x2. We like to do this versus a 3x1. In this game, especially those last 2 drives, the Bills, they broke their tendencies. They said, you know what? We're not just going to stick with one play versus the 3x1 or one play versus a 2x2. They mixed it up and they sent guys to kind of like you talked about with rushing Milano and dropping Bosa, non-traditional type positions. They kind of swapped roles in a lot of ways, and that confused the picture for Drake Maye. And you see how it impacted this high-low that they actually had set up between Hunter Henry and Diggs. And you see how Poyer dropping down right here. He drops down. Shaq is that middle hole runner, how that affects this high-low, because Poyer now takes away the tight end as Diggs wants to come across the middle. Shaq covers him up. Very good coverage and change a picture from pre to post snap. And that's really what caused Drake to kind of pull it down and then try to escape to pick up the first down with his legs. But group closes and you see them force 3rd down here. They don't let him pick up the first down with his legs.
Yeah, the Pats on the play before, they had a 5-yard gain from Travion Henderson. So you're sitting here, it's 2nd and 5, you're down 4, you just forced the Bills to punt. This is like, you're sitting here 2nd and 5, even 3rd and 5. Like, these are very convertible moments, and the Bills just bust out this Tampa 2 variation. I love these types of coverages. They're one of my favorite things that have developed in the league.
They're trending. Yes.
Yeah. Like it's some of the Cardinals last year. I mean, it helps to have Budda Baker and the safeties they have with versatility, but the Cardinals have done some of the coolest versions of this type of stuff. I love these coverage pieces. The Packers do some cool stuff with it too. Yeah. Pat Halfley's been awesome with that. Like, again, helps to have that kind of personnel. But I love these looks. I love that Poyer can cover that hook curl, coming down from the top, but he can cover it top down. And he comes and he sits like a couple yards past the stick. So he's able to sit there and meet Henry right at that spot and force Maye off it. And then Shaq just collects Diggs on that dig. He's right there. So I like this variation, what it did. Maye gets kind of scared off it and flushed out a bit. And you mentioned at the end, look at Greg Rousseau, like the length of the legs really showing up there. Everybody knows Maye can scoot. Rousseau got chipped a little bit inside by Ramondre, but Rousseau makes up that difference in an instant. Chases Maye down, and even kudos to Max Hairston, recognizing what's going on. He fires up and closes some distance.
Yeah.
He had a couple nice plays in coverage too, where guys caught balls underneath him, but kind of like what we saw in Kentucky and we talked about. Yeah, one of his best strengths being an off or zone and being able to trigger and close down quickly underneath. So that's an example there against the scramble, but Hairston did that in coverage as well this game.
James Leclerc says breaking tendencies was a great game plan against a team coming off a bye.
Oh,
Bam.
Good call.
Great point, James. Great point. Yeah, there's no doubt. Both sides of the ball, they broke tendencies. And here's one that they haven't run all that often, but it kind of reminds me of what the Patriots used to do with Belichick to Josh Allen early in his career. 4th and 5 here.
Oh, good call.
Fourth quarter, 154, a simulated pressure, and watch how everyone's up near line of scrimmage and they play man coverage. They get a little physical with the Patriots.
I love that though. Beat the shit out of them. Make them call it.
Throw off the rhythm, throw off the timing. It's 4th and 5. You know it's going to be a quick hitter type play. And I love how they drop. They have obviously Dorian Williams on the line of scrimmage. They show like they're sending him, but they actually send Shaq Thompson up the middle. So again, getting someone downhill, fast, physical, in the face of Maye to kind of, get his attention, but then they drop out Bosa, they drop out Dorian Williams. And that's important, especially when the opposing team wants to run mesh and you have guys underneath to take away that early stuff underneath. And you see how everything's kind of bogged up right there. And it really took away that stuff coming across the middle, those mesh, those rub routes. And once you saw Drake Maye go into scramble drill mode, you see Bosa trigger, and he gets right in the passing lane as Diggs separates in this scramble drill type play. He gets right in the passing lane where the pass has to be in order to hit Diggs, as he gets open there. And Bosa does a great job of batting that down to pretty much end the game for the Bills.
These were the kind of plays where, in relation to Maye, that he made in the first matchup where things wouldn't work or to be gummed up. Also, great block from Ramondre Stevenson. I just love a good collision between a linebacker and a running back. Like, bang. I could watch those dudes do like one-on-one pass pro drills all day. Like, that's some good, like, if they were in the Senior Bowl together where everybody watches like them two go against each other to do that drill. These are kind of the plays that Maye made in the first matchup. And like you said, Bosa, great angle, almost like he's the aggressive spy there, recognizes what's going on as he drops again. He's cognizant in coverage. He's looking as he drops. He gets his eyes to the right. Who's coming across? What's happening here? He's functioning as an actual coverage player as best as he can, even though he's a non-traditional coverage guy. He's functioning in that role. Sees what happens. The play develops, closes down, bats that ball. And I love how it's paired with, we joked about it, like getting hands on everybody. Serves the Patriots right. Like, who do they think they are running mesh? Don't they know like the Bills run? Like, who do you think you are?
Your own place, right?
You're trying to, who do you think you are in a high leverage, gotta have it moment? You're running mesh? How
the audacity? Yeah.
The unmitigated gall from the Pats to try and run mesh. What's also funny too is they ran this exact same play on the interception that Jordan Poyer dropped. The running back also released in the backfield, but it was the same thing, that little yo-yo motion or whatever, short motion in return from Hunter Henry. They ran mesh. Poyer drops the INT. This time, they just mug the hell out of everybody. Max Hairston battles with Hollins, beats the hell out of him off the line. Taron Johnson beats the hell out of Diggs off the line. It's not illegal because nobody grabbed, nobody held. They got physical, and it's all legal. You know why? Because what's also a really nice piece, 4th and 5
4th and
gives you a
5, yeah.
nice natural indicator to be like, oh, everywhere in front of the first down marker, we can beat the shit out of anybody because it's legal. They did. They took advantage of it. They didn't get all the pressure in the world. Maye tried to make a play. Bosa made a play instead. Victory. Kick rocks, Patriots. Go.
Yeah, it was both sides of the film, even the return stuff, like I said, special teams. It was awesome film to watch. There were
Everything
so
fell into
many
place.
adjustments. It
Everything
just
just kept, yeah.
fell into place. There was very good X's and O's and schematics, but there was also great execution in high leverage moments like that. And after the game, Sal Capaccio asked Bosa about that play. I think it was Sal asked Bosa about that play, and Bosa said Ryan Nielsen is going to be very happy that I batted that down because it's a drill we've been doing all year. And so
Paid
it's
off.
interesting that he first of all mentioned Ryan Nielsen instead of Marcus West, but that's a whole nother story. But also
Oh,
something that we we expect honestly after watching a lot of film coming out of camp. But
damn.
it was fun from a film standpoint, X's and O's, execution. I don't want the Bills to continuously get down multiple possessions in order to get there. But it does seem that the Bills not necessarily are opening up their playbook more on both sides of the ball, but now you're starting to understand why they maintained a whittled down playbook up to this point, right? And so now you get to see on offense some of those constraints, but you also got to see some constraints on defense. Again, making it look like they're going to run cover 6, but it's actually a split field coverage where you're playing zone on one side and man on other. And it really confused Maye when he's working through his progressions because the Bills they're typically very good against most quarterbacks, not necessarily the elite ones, but most quarterbacks at taking away first and second reads. They did that to Maye in the second half. 1 for 4, 1 for 5 on third downs in the second half compared to 4 for 5 in the first half. They would take away his early reads. And as he got to the other side of the field, it was like looking at a completely different picture because he's expecting man because they're playing man on one side. And then on the other side, they're playing zone or vice versa. And that really threw off his processing and threw off his rhythm and really caused him to struggle in that second half.
And the Bills did it without their best secondary player
Right?
who was on the bench. And they
Yeah.
did it with a rookie who's still kind of like learning the ropes. And they
Yeah.
did it with a vet that, people thought was washed and done. Just super exciting to kind of see that play all kind of come together in the second half. And I know we touched on it a bit, but being able to lock the backside of coverage with anybody is nice. It's really nice to do it with your rookie corner and
Yeah.
like them putting him in press and letting him just play
Trey
soft
too.
shoe press. Yeah, Trey too.
And
Fair.
Trey too. When they went to 2-man, they attached in man coverage. But yeah, Harrison, he was sticky in this game in man coverage, no doubt.
Yeah, Trey had some good ones. There's the one where him and Taryn both like simultaneously they're in 2-man. They both get into trail at the same time on this from the same side as him, as both of them, and then Hairston are all in press across the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hairston being able to get into soft shoe press and be like, no, I'm good because who's running by me? Like, and he locked up Booty for a good point. I can't say that name without laughing.
I know.
He locked him up for a good chunk of the game, battled with Hollins a little bit. It was just nice to see that come together. And for a defense that has some vulnerabilities and has a multitude of injuries, like them playing a bit more of a high variance game I gravitate selfishly like towards this type of defense anyway. I am a fan of, hybrid fronts and attacking and man and press and fire zone blitzes and sims and creepers. And you don't know who's doing what. And we're doing all kinds of cool coverage variations. And this guy is dropping to here when he's normally not supposed to be there. So it was cool to see them tap into it, but I also think it's a bit of a necessity for them, given how they're built, given the injuries that they got. And we'll see what happens as they continue to get healthier, potentially down the stretch, which is an exciting thing to kind of think about. But yeah, this was nice. They had to have it in this game, and they did. And watching them switch things up schematically on the defensive side and attack, and then on the flip side, staying the course offensively, but working in all those changeups and all those off-speed pitches to the fastballs that they always throw. It was a really fun watch after, like you said, the intro. It was 21-0, and I was the same. I was like, I gotta watch this friggin' tape. This sucks. Like, I don't want to watch this at all. And then all of a sudden it became fun.
It did. It became fun. And then once you watched it Monday and the preceding days after that, you're like, there was some good stuff. And so I
Yes.
hope you guys, got to see some of that cool stuff that we nerded out about. I hope you guys now understand, some of the tendencies. We've hammered that home for months now, the tendencies the
Yes.
Bills have built up. But now you're starting to see some of those constraints, some of those counters, some of those presentations that look like X, but are actually a different play or a different look. And so that was really cool. And I hope that you guys got a lot out of that segment and this show altogether.
Yeah, we really hope you guys do, and hopefully you continue to come around to kind of learn what's happening with this team schematically, and hopefully you don't get attached to people who watch film and put out incorrect things on people for hits and likes and engagement and attention, even though it's not actually correct and they're just
Yeah.
talking nonsense. Massive shade. I'm talking about the film watchers. I don't want to be that person that does subtleties. It's the film watchers. They're
Yeah.
whatever, teach their own. Yeah, this was a nice one, and again, whether rightly or wrongly, we've talked about it all year. Be the best version of yourself come playoff time. And the
Come
Bills are
playoff
starting
time.
to add
Yeah.
these little wrinkles. It's a little different of what we've seen previously, which was the book is kind of out by the time they get to the playoffs. Now, I'm trying to think of like cool analogies, but I can't because I'm too excited. Like extra chapters are being written, or there's more footnotes being
Yeah.
added, or something else. Like there's there's a whatever the opposite of there's a thing at the end of a book. It's not the intro. I'm falling apart. But little cool things are being added
Yes.
to this Bills offensive book, maybe even the defensive book. They're also hopefully getting healthier.
Mm,
Be the
big
best
one.
version of yourself come playoff time, especially in a year where there's no Mahomes, there's no Burrow. Epilogue. Thank you, Joe.
There you
Son of a
go.
bitch.
Thank
That's
you
what it
to our
was.
producer,
Thank you
Joe
to our
DeRosa,
producer.
coming through in
Thank
the
you.
clutch.
That was driving me insane. Thank you. Epilogue.
Yeah.
I read too many books for it to not have known that off the top of my head. My brain is turning to mush. Yeah, it's no Mahomes, no Burrow. The Ravens might get in, but they've got a ton of injuries and dudes that aren't coming back, and they don't necessarily look like themselves. Lamar isn't healthy either. The AFC is kind of ripe for the taking. The Bills are also maybe hitting their stride. They've also been to this dance before. Cautiously optimistic or cautiously pessimistic, whatever you got. No matter what, we will have you covered here every single day, or every single week, I should say, going forward on this Bills team. Eric, anything else on your mind as we start to say goodbye to the people? Is it something left unsaid about this game? Is it something maybe about the Browns this week? Are you looking ahead to Philly? Are you looking bigger picture? Where's your head at when it comes to wrapping the show up?
Just a lot of thanks. We appreciate everyone enjoying us, whether you're at work, whether you're driving home from work, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're listening. A few hours from now, once Joe cooks up the audio version of this, we can be found on all audio podcast platforms. Whether you joined on Instagram, I know it's a little different. If you're watching live on Instagram, you can only hear me and not Anthony on the other side. But if hopefully you got to see some of the film, maybe even with the sound off because you're at work and you still wanted to catch some of that film and some of the film room. Either way, we appreciate everyone supporting Cover One. We couldn't do this without you. We couldn't do, the telestrations. We couldn't be live right now. We couldn't have a lot of the memberships to the stat companies without you guys supporting us in any facet that you do. And of course, special thanks to our insiders from the Cover1.football website, people that are in our Discord server and channel each and every day, talking to us about football, giving us ideas to bring to you at, in the film room and the other podcasts, obviously, and just very thankful this time of year when it comes to having a good team to cover and team that comes back from 21-0. That's always fun, obviously, but also the support that you guys show us each and every week in each and every podcast.
1000%. Yeah, we would not be in this position without you folks in whatever form or fashion your support comes in. You could be an insider, you could be a YouTube watcher, you could be an audio platform listener, you could be a person who likes and subscribes and leaves reviews and retweets and follows on social. You could be just a person who kind of lurks in the shadows and consumes the content but tells people in real life, your cousins, your family, friends, whatever, about like Cover One or like the show. It could be Bills fans, non-Bills fans, whatever. There's a multitude of forms and fashions of support that we know we get from you folks, and like Eric said, it means the world to us. It's the reason we're able to do what we do. And it makes all the effort, especially these, like, takes a lot to get through the tape, to put these episodes together, to do a bunch of things. Like, I always feel that anytime I do film on Disguise coverage, which I am tonight, like, there's so much that goes into it. And Eric does 2 shows a week. I do 2 shows a week.
Yeah.
We also work serious day jobs. There's a lot that goes into it. So we appreciate the appreciation and the support that comes our way, whatever, again, form or fashion it comes at from you guys. We also appreciate our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales for continuing to be a sponsor of the show, and our man behind the scenes, who we alluded to earlier, Joe DeRosa, for the setup and everything he does, also being in the chat and helping me to forget or to remember words that I have forgotten. And when I'm stumbling over myself, he's able to kind of give me, a little ring of life and be able to kind of save me as I drown. So appreciate you as always, Joe. And yeah, thank you to everyone who tuned in live. If you're still here on YouTube, please drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. If you're watching later on YouTube, that's still cool. Drop a like. Turn on notifications for the Cover One Film Room playlist here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel, where we have you covered with a multitude of coverage pretty much every single day of the week once we are in season. If you're listening on the audio platforms, that's cool too. Rate, review, subscribe. Please tell your family, friends, loved ones about the show, the brand, the channel, whatever have you. And thank you very much for tuning into this episode. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for the founder of Cover One, Mr. Eric Turner, this has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Thank you very much to Michael for your super chat earlier. That was awesome to see. We will see you folks when we see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.